That was pretty rude. Okay, so one day me and my dad, we were at like one of those restaurants with like a Tim Hortons and a Wendy's and all in one, and he saw these pamphlets for Ottawa, and I was looking through them. He's like, "Girls!" He snatched it, and he just like he stood and stared for like an hour. He's like, "She's beautiful." And I was like, what the fuck? And she told me there's this 2-year-old girl in a stroller, and Dad was like, just wanted her. Like, I could tell, like, his erection was through the table, through the ceiling. And he's like, we're fucking going to Ottawa! So he just ripped me out of my shirt and threw me in the truck, and I blacked out because we were going like 500 miles an hour, and like the G-force I couldn't handle, so I blacked out. And when I woke up like 2 minutes later, we were in Ottawa. And in Ottawa, like, we went to the exact same spot where the picture was taken, and there was nobody there. My dad's like, fuck, where is she? So he went up to, like, the tour guy, we took the pamphlet, right? And he went up to the tour guy and, like, smashed his head on the table, and he's like, where is she? And the guy was, like, crying and bleeding everywhere. And I was like, my dad calmed down, he's like, I just want to fucking know where this girl is! And he's like, I don't know. He's like, useless! So he just took out his machete, just cut his head off, and set his body on fire, and just left him there. So he started walking around Ottawa, and like a month later, he saw this woman who looked just like the woman in the picture, like with the little girl, and he just grabbed her and like grabbed her by the throat, and was like, where's your daughter? And the lady's like, and she's like, I don't have a daughter. And Dad's like, I know you do! And he pulled out the pamphlet, he's like, here! And he shoved it in her face, he's like, oh, that was just a child actor. He's like, it's dropped her, he's like, a child actor? And he just like passed out, and like a month later I came back and he was still laying there, and so I just woke him up and he's like, I have to find the girl. I was like, Dad, it's okay, everything will be fine. He's like, no! And he stabbed me in the chest, and I blacked out. When I woke up, we were in the hotel's computer area, and he was on a acting website, adding like a forum for a child actor needed for a commercial, and he asked for like 2-year-old blondes only, and so a couple weeks later he had the audition, and like hundreds of little girls showed up, and he just brought them into this like sealed room, and like he said like the women can pick up their daughters afterwards, but in truth he was shooting the ones that weren't the kid. And this one girl he brought in, she didn't have blonde hair, she had brown hair, she was wearing a blonde wig. So when Dad tried to like see if it was her by picking her up, the wig fell off, and he just started, like, I was in the room with him, and he was just like gasping for air. He was so sorry, he was like, oh, so he just ate the girl. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then eventually this girl that looked just like the girl in the pamphlet came in. My dad just started drooling everywhere. It was just fucking disgusting. And he like crawled up to her and he's like, are you her? And the girl's like, I don't know. And he like pulled up the picture and he's like, is this you? And she's like, yeah, that's me. And I was like, finally! So he just took the girl and put her in his pants and just ran out of the room. And like all the ladies were like screaming like, oh, what's going on? I was like, nothing. So I ran after him because all the children's dead bodies were in the room. And so we were running down the street with this little girl in Dad's pants until we got to the hotel room. And he runs like 100 miles an hour. So he got there like hours before me. So once I got up to the room, all I heard was like this really weird like squishing noise and this crunch and this explosion. And so I went into the room and there was blood everywhere, and all I see is Dad with like a 10-mile long strap on, and the girl's face sewed to his face, and he's like, do you love me now? And then he blacked out from blood loss. Because by strap on I mean like staple on. He like nailed it to his penis because his wasn't long enough apparently. So anyway, so I like managed to carry Dad back home, and like a month later he woke up and he still had the little girl's face stapled to his face, and he was like, I was like, Dad, you fucking get rid of that, it's fucking creepy. He's like, no, it's mine. He just rips it off and eats it, and now he's like, yo, she'll always be with me.